Coming up on the U.S. Army All-American Bowl Selection Tour Highlight Show presented by Adidas, the week of November 7th had 16 special events for 16 fantastic athletes. Fire it up! Kick off this week in the Midwest, where 5 unbelievable athletes were center stage. 3 athletes came from Glenville High School in Cleveland, Ohio. Defensive back Marshawn Lattimore will start us off. 6 foot, 175 pounds, top 10 DB, and arguably the top player in Ohio. The Buckeyes are in the lead, with Bama, Oregon, and USC not far behind. Eric Smith joins him in the defensive backfield, as this top 20 safety will likely take his 6'1", 185-pound frame to Ohio State. Take it down into the trenches for the big fella, Marcellus Jones, 6'5", 325, top 5 guard, top 3 player in the Buckeye State. Christmas came early for Urban Meyer last year, as Mr. Jones verbally committed to Ohio State on Christmas Day in 2012. Malik McDowell, Motor City product from Southfield High School in Michigan. DN prospect that's 6'7", 290 pounds. 24/7 Sports picked him as a 2014 All-American. Good call. Top 5 D lineman, best player in Michigan. Experts expect him to commit to the Wolverines at some point this upcoming year. Damon Webb is our last Midwest athlete this week. Another Detroit product, corner from Cass Technical. 5'11", 180. Favorite foods include errant passes from opposing quarterbacks. Verbal commit to Ohio State. He's the second best player in Michigan. Our first athlete from the Southwest is Trey Quinn, wide receiver from Barb High School in Lake Charles, Louisiana. 6'1", 200-pound dynamo, runs a 4.39 40. Last year he had 111 catches for 2,094 yards and 26 touchdowns. And he burst on the scene as a sophomore as a first-team All-State selection. The Bayou Bengals earned his verbal commitment in August. Davion Hall is a two-way starter at Liberty Eylau High School in Texarkana, Texas. This Baylor verbal commit is 6'3", 186 pounds, playing both wideout and DB. He's a top 5 safety prospect whose biggest asset is his size, flying all over the field with a 4.5 40. We look to Arkansas for the state's best player, Bijan Jackson from El Dorado High School. Nearly 6'2", 334 pounds. When QBs wake up with a cold sweat, it's because they see this guy in their nightmares. A verbal commitment to Arkansas back in December. Final Southwest athlete is Terrell Cuny from Jasper High School in Texas. 6'3.5", 270-pound center, is a warrior on the interior line and is a top 5 center prospect. Verbally committed to Texas in March. How about 4 studs from the great state of Georgia who are destined for greatness at the next level? Start with Deshaun Sims, 6'4", 278-pound offensive tackle from Lowndes High School in Valdosta. Made a verbal commitment to Georgia back in July, where he'll look to contribute in the trenches for the Dogs. Damari Kitt is a dominant wide receiver from Sandy Creek High School in Tyrone, where he racked up more than 1,200 yards receiving last year. He refined his technique at Football University as this 6'1", 182-pounder with a 4.5 40 and great route running add up to a verbal commitment to Clemson. Head to Cedar Grove High School in Ellenwood and you'll find a top 20 linebacker prospect in Bryson Allen Williams, who had 16 sacks last year alone. 6'2", 214 pounds, he's a verbal commit to the Gamecocks of South Carolina. Our final player from the Peach State is Elijah Shaw, D tackle from Tucker High School. Try blocking this. 6'4.5", 295, flying in off the edge. It's okay, not many people can. He's got 20 interested schools with Alabama, Georgia, and Ole Miss in his top 3. We'll finish off the week with our 2 athletes from the West region and 1 from the Northeast. Vianney Talamaevo is a straight-up force on the O-line with his 6'3", 310-pound frame. This top 10 guard is verbally committed to Coach Saban at Alabama. The kicker from the West team is Zach Schmid from Francis Parker High School in San Diego, where he launches moonshots on a weekly basis. Finally, we're left with Donnell Stanley from Lotta High School in South Carolina. Savage O-lineman at 6'4", 330. This masher is a top 10 guard, top 5 player in the Palmetto State, verbally committed to South Carolina. The families of our Georgia and Ohio athletes received the Dream Protector Award, courtesy of American Family Insurance this week, for their role in helping their athletes achieve their all-American dreams. Now it's time for Extra Points with Mike Ulatowski, social media extraordinaire and Army Bowl insider. Mikey, what's going on, buddy?
Thanks, Tyler. Let's start off strong with Trey Quinn. The Barb High School wide receiver is just 176 yards from tying 2012 Army Bowl wideout Dorial Green Beckham's national career receiving yards record, like in the history of high school football. Also, this past week he caught career touchdown number 65. That moved past A.J. Green's high school career receiving touchdown mark. My second point this week highlights the 3 stud athletes from Glenville. With the trio of Lattimore, Smith, and Jones playing in the 2014 Army Bowl, Glenville now has produced an amazing 12 U.S. Army All-Americans. That's the most from one single high school. My third point is a congratulatory one, as Twitter user @GEBruce21 correctly answered last week's trivia question, who holds the record for the most passing yards in an Army Bowl game? The answer? Class of 2003 East quarterback Chris Leak, who threw for 165 yards in an MVP performance. Finally, this week's Tweet of the Week comes from us here at the Army Bowl. On November 6th, we tweeted, "Happy birthday to former Cardinals DB and Army Ranger Pat Tillman. He would have been 37 today." Those are this week's extra points. Take us home, Tyler.
Thanks, Mike. Always crushing it on social media. Be sure to check him out every single day on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Huge thanks to all of our terrific sponsors, especially our principal sponsors, the U.S. Army and American Family Insurance. And this week, we're spotlighting the San Antonio Visitors Bureau, your go-to spot to learn about what the great city of San Antonio has to offer. To explore and get some awesome trip ideas, log on to visitsanantonio.com. And don't forget about the game itself in San Antonio's Alamodome on January 4th. Don't miss next week as we continue on our nationwide tour of the best high school football talent. Thanks for checking out the U.S. Army All-American Bowl Selection Tour highlight show presented by Adidas. Until then, I'm your host, Tyler Olson.